Right, we're back. We're trying not to let Dan wet his pants because he's hasn't been getting any work done because of our next guest over the past couple of days.
I am
So got Thibaut
geeking out hard.
got Thibaut from Hashflow and Hashverse, I suppose. But yeah, Thibaut, how are we doing?
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. I know it must be kind of hectic at the minute, particularly with everything that you guys have got going on. But yeah, I suppose we can maybe if we take a step back before we go forward and just if you can kind of fill the audience in of basically your origin story into the role, what you're working in now, and kind of give us like a high level of what your role actually is, and then we can kind of get into the product and let Dan geek out for like half an hour or whatever it is.
Exactly. Let's do it. So I'm managing growth and strategy at Hashflow. Just some background on myself. I graduated from university in 2020 with degrees in finance and marketing. Started my career doing strategy for high fashion brands, actually. So worked at Chanel, worked at Kering. But then, kind of 2020 and 2021 were the peak COVID years, and a lot of things were going on elsewhere. NFTs kind of got a hold of me really early on. Once that kind of bubble started, and I went on to start a marketplace with a few friends, raise a seed round, and that was a super interesting project. And then Hashflow happened almost more than 6 months ago at this point. I transitioned over here because DeFi, I did have kind of like that financial itch. I do really like to think about numbers and just like macro and things like that. So when I got the opportunity to transition from kind of like a pure NFT project into something that's more DeFi related, I jumped to it. And especially a project like Hashflows really made a lot of sense to me really quickly, which was a good sign, right? Because coming in from like a more traditional finance background, to be able to understand a product in DeFi really quickly and easily, to me meant that there was really a lot of potential there. We could really build something that's valuable in the industry.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Tell you what might be good for people who are actually watching. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to bring up my screen because we can just bring up the UI and you can kind of just talk us through it. Give me a second, because it's a great product where we've self-professed kind of non-singular chain maxis, and we love the whole omni-chain and cross-chain narrative. So I suppose you could kind of talk us through what we're kind of seeing here.
Yeah, sure. So what we should do is maybe go to the main page first, and then we can talk through that. But essentially, I'm really proud of our UI or UX. I think we have a killer team, and part of that is our design. Our designer, is like ex-Facebook, kind of just like was there for years and years. So really has that like clean, sleek look. And that's what we're really trying to go for, like that kind of Stripe feel, like tech, modern. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the product itself, we're essentially a swap. Think of like any kind of AMM DEX, and really the value that you get from this is on the price guarantee. It sounds crazy to say, right? Like if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of DEXs, they can't guarantee pricing. So you're essentially fighting against slippage, you're fighting against MEV, and it's just kind of a really complicated trading experience. And I think that's why, we really kind of focus on like the future of trading, because, we're not there yet, and we kind of recognize that ourselves. What's really interesting about Hashflow, however, is like the way that we do things in terms of market making is different. So we use an RFQ model, so request for quote, which essentially takes kind of like off-chain and on-chain components. And the bottom line is it allows you to have guaranteed pricing. Like the price that you see is the price that you will get, and there's like no questions asked. So, we really just want to build like the most seamless trading experience in DeFi, and almost kind of have like a centralized exchange feel to it, but decentralized, right? Because like you have such a big part of the market in crypto today that's still on centralized exchanges, like on Coinbase, on Binance, and you have to ask, like, why are they, nobody likes to not have custody of their assets, but the trading experience is just better on Coinbase. It just is, right? Like you have more products to play with. Like visibly, it looks better. There's no questions about pricing. There's no gas issues. There's just a ton of things going on that are just smoother and more seamless in centralized exchanges that we're just kind of striving towards. So if you go to the app itself right now, it's pretty straightforward. Right now, it's just a swap, right? You can swap from any chain to any chain. We've got those 6 chains that you see right now live. We are going to a non-EVM chain pretty soon. I won't fully give the full leak, but that's actually coming really, really soon. So it's super exciting because that's a pair that isn't being done in DeFi. So you see this kind of okay, I'm just gonna leak it. So we're launching Solana in a few weeks, like 3 to 4 weeks, roughly, hopefully. And there's no ETH to Sol right now. Like there really isn't in DeFi. Like if you go look, all of that market is captured by centralized exchanges. So we have the really like a unique opportunity to launch like a super clean, super seamless ETH to Sol, swap, and so that's really coming up really soon in the roadmap. And then down the line, it's just really about expanding the Hashflow ecosystem, and that means really just building more products around it. So more than just like having a swap, we want to build an order book. We want to really kind of just make a more like pro trading experience, so that we can have maybe more advanced traders come in and really leverage Hashflow, maybe institutional traders, etc. So yeah, that's a little bit of Hashflow as a whole. I think there's still a lot to be done here, and I'm super excited for it.
Yeah. So what's So obviously the user flow is pretty simple. Like if I've got ETH on Ethereum and I want to get, I don't know, Avalanche, AVAX on Avalanche, like obviously you could facilitate that. What's actually happening on the back end there? Is that going to selected on and off-chain market makers to fulfill that order, and then it just routes it through?
Yeah, so essentially, yeah, we leveraged Wormhole for like the messaging layer. But like you said, so we've got these market makers that are providing liquidity, and they have these different liquidity to us for any kind of any pair. And essentially, what's going on is like there's like if I'm going from AVAX to ETH, like I'm using Wormhole, but essentially I'm not picking liquidity on one side or the other. So there's really no need for like slippage or MEV or anything like that. And it's also bridgeless, right? So we don't have to pass through like a USDC and then go back to ETH after that. There's no bridges. There's nothing like that. It's just like a clean 1-2 step when it comes to cross chain. Yeah.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. So I think what's important is like you said a few things there, particularly at the early part of the conversation. And before we get into kind of Hashverse and things like that, because I know Dan's kind of itching to get onto this, but why you mentioned kind of Stripe and like front end UI design and even UX design as well. Why do you think that's just completely overlooked, particularly in the DeFi space? It feels like let's get a product out there. It doesn't necessarily matter what the user experience or the UI looks like, but do you not think we're at a stage now where we can kind of take those kind of guardrails off and people should be looking to design like the best product that they physically can to make it more feel like a, like a, I don't know, like a fintech app or something like that?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I asked this question myself too, right? Like I just think as an industry, we haven't matured enough to really begin thinking about like products that deeply, because it takes a lot, right? It takes somebody full time to really just kind of like go and reiterate and redesign things and like the tiny little icons on this thing. It's a lot of work, and it's also branding, right? And I think as an industry, like it's still so young that there's still kind of like an identity crisis. I almost see it as like we haven't matured enough to be able to really just like showcase the best side of ourselves. So I fully agree that eventually kind of we're going to start seeing more kind of look more digestible products and easily, you know, kind of more mainstream or kind of like the fintech look, like you're saying. I think that's going to start happening a lot more. The thing about what's going on right now is like we have this like community, which is like the core kind of like, you can call them degens, you can call them like crypto maxis, whatever, and they have this certain kind of brand, and they have this certain kind of like ask, and that's kind of like where you see like the Uniswap look, like the Trader Joe look, like, and all this like where they like designs a certain way, and there's kind of like these avatars, and it's like a little play around different things, which I like too, right? Because it's pretty unique to crypto. So it's about kind of like bringing both sides, right? Like, let's be like a kind of a tech forward product, but also kind of bring in those core elements of our existing user base and that kind of community that we're in. So yeah, I mean, I think we're just kind of still managing those two different components.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So kind of as a segue into Hashverse, what you feels like you fit the bill extremely well if you've came from kind of the NFT space with a kind of finance background. And there is like we've had a few people on, we cover NFT perp and projects like that an awful lot. There is like this great intersection between NFTs and DeFi and NFT financialization and things like that. What do you think that DeFi projects can learn from NFT projects and kind of vice versa?
Yeah, sure. So actually, can you go back a little bit? I lost you for a second. You said you like for like 10 seconds. If you want to just like restart the whole question, because I didn't get it yet.
Yeah, let me make a note. 2 seconds.
It's probably my Wi-Fi, to be honest.
No, that's fine. 2 seconds. 12. Yeah, so we cover a lot like in the in between NFTs and DeFi, and particularly more. We've covered a lot of kind of NFT financialization products like NFT perp and things like that. But I always think like both communities, like the DeFi communities, particularly in Discord and things like that, is a total different beast to like NFT communities. And what I've always kind of said is, I don't know whether it's whether it's the user base and where they're coming from, but it seems like NFT marketers or NFT projects can seem to rally up their communities a hell of a lot better than DeFi projects can. And I don't know if you kind of have any insight into why that is, what kind of DeFi projects can learn from NFT projects with regards to kind of community builds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you're right. There is kind of like a difference between the two. So combining both is ideal, right? If you do it well. But I think DeFi projects, what sometimes they like is kind of like community feel, and it's kind of that like buzzword that we kind of always are throwing around, but essentially NFT projects, what they do really well is build like a core base really early on in a project's life cycle. It's kind of like the business model is flipped, right? Like you prepare a project, but really you're kind of like solidifying the community first, and then you're working towards something together. So it's like it's interesting because you have your fan base, you have your user base, you have like people supporting you already prior to maybe delivering a product, right? And that has its pros and cons. We've obviously seen like our fair share of rugs in the industry and stuff like that. But there's a lot of value to it, really. There's like so much to be done around like creating a community so early on. So DeFi really just doesn't have that NFT component. I think shared ownership is really important for this, right? Like I want to like share. I want to have my ape because you have your ape, because I see that this guy has his ape. Like that kind of like PFP model it hits different, especially on crypto Twitter and all these things. Like there is something to kind of the NFT ecosystem, to the PFP model that works really well for kind of virality, for community, for to kind of like build that core that a lot of DeFi projects are missing. So what I like is really just combining the two, because I see pros and cons on both sides. But from a community standpoint, and from kind of like that vibe and that feel, like seeing people kind of like being in the same environment and pushing towards the same thing, that's definitely something that NFTs provide that DeFi hasn't really attained yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue to move on to Hashverse. So we seen something bubbling up on Twitter, and then we seen the art, and then the NFTs, and then the actual mint. But I suppose, like, from the top down, can you kind of just fill everyone in? What is the Hashverse? What's happening? What's the kind of idea behind it? What's the kind of end goal? And what's just kind of high level of what's everything that's going on over there.
Yeah, no, let's do it. So so essentially, DeFi, decentralized, we really wanted to decentralize our protocol. That's something that I think was at the core of the product. We launched our token last November, and that was step one of decentralizing the protocol, right? Now we have kind of like an active governance and et cetera, et cetera. But what we kind of like always had, we had this itch, right? In the sense that, a lot of DAOs actually don't get user retention. Like they have really like low voter turnouts. There's just like, there's not enough exciting, interesting things going on for a DAO to actually be able to stay alive and to be like a viable product. So we really just kind of, our thesis became like, okay, we have to make our DAO fun. And I think we kind of also went a little bit even farther than that. We have to make our DAO like really fucking fun, like it has to be more fun than anything else. Like, it's just so then that became our North Star. And then from there, we kind of just like started thinking about like, okay, like how do we gamify a DAO? And how do we make it more than just a DAO? So we brought in these different components. Obviously, the gamification is really important. NFTs are really important in this, and the Storyverse. So you have three different things that are kind of making this DAO interesting and hopefully fun to play. So in the sense of the mints, that was the first ever release of NFT items for the Hashverse. We're gonna go by seasons, and that's for season 1. And I'm super excited for this because it's really the first time that you see kind of a little hint of the Hashverse kind of coming to life. Obviously, the full Hashverse itself is not out yet. It's going to be out, pretty soon in the next 2 to 3 months. And then from there, we can really see like, the full gamification of everything. So there's a ton of different things going on. If you go, actually, yeah, you're on the right page. If you go down a little bit, there's kind of these like 3 different components to the Hashverse. Here. So it's like govern, quest, earn. Obviously it is still a DAO. There's like a pretty big governance aspect to it. We want people to like, also dive into the story. The questing is what we've talked about before, which are the alpha allegiances, which we can get into also. And then obviously earning. So you have like a leaderboard model, and your in-game XP eventually, will become, and you can earn more HFT. So it's super exciting. I think that's kind of like a high level overview of what's coming. And I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, when you were saying you try to make DAO governance fun, that's like understatement of the year. You went out to what looks like probably one of the best GameFi projects out there on the market.
No, it's crazy. I was looking at this actually. The vote, I was comparing voter turnouts from DAOs to countries, and it turns out there's only 3 countries, that are democracies or whatever. There's only 3 countries that have lower voter turnouts than most DAOs. So it's like, wow. Even the most like messed up kind of like, the messed up countries in the world are still getting more voters than, like percentage wise than most DAOs. So it's kind of like, okay, like what are we doing here?
And we see there's like that kind of theater behind governance as well, and that's probably preying on the fact that they know they're going to get low voter participation and governance participation. So if that were to increase, that kind of the theatrics that we see in some governance proposals, AIP one, for example, from Arbitrum, I think that kind of reduces the likelihood of that happening and kind of stops governance being a bit of a meme, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that was kind of the idea behind a lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I fully agree. Yeah, I think essentially it's like the experience is everything, and I think right now it's super fragmented as well. You have these different products, like you go from like a polling center to like Snapshot, and then you're discussing in Discord maybe. I also think like if I'm a DAO member and I actually want to be active in the DAO and vote, it's like a part-time job, it's like I have to actually go and like read a ton of things, fully understand them, and then I have to go to the Snapshot, connect, like it's super fragmented. And we need to simplify that, I think, as an industry, and I think like we are probably working towards that, like in different aspects of it, but it should be as easy as just going, like logging in, okay, like this is what's going on now, this is what I can vote towards, this is the background, this is the context, and then boom, like I vote. I really think there's also kind of like a lot of work to be done on like the whole like governance model.
And then from an actual gaming point of view, how does the Hashverse actually work then? Because we've had this sneak peek at but by the way, it's great that you've almost got like a Call of Duty style feel here with all these different seasons that you're gonna go through. But how does Hashverse work, and then how do like your guilds and your so we had like clan blockmates, for example, like how'd that work compared to just me as an individual person as well?
Yeah, okay, so let's look at it from the lens of allegiances first, and then we'll kind of go into like the single player world. But in terms of allegiances, so we're gonna have all these different alpha allegiances. They could be NFT communities, they could be alpha groups, they could be blockmates, they could be etc. Right? And so they're going to be creating these kind of like all-star teams. It's kind of like going to be like their best traders, their best like kind of this set of people that are going to go into the Hashverse and compete against each other. So the competitions, they're going to be called battle royales, and these battle royales, there's going to be all the different allegiances that are competing for 5 days. So within those 5 days, there's two main components to kind of keeping up your health score. So think about it like this, right? You have like an allegiance health score, and you have your individual health score. And the way that that health score moves is through your PNL performance, which is averaged for every player, and also the different NFT components. And I think we're still kind of honestly like figuring out like the last kind of like mechanics and the game theory around like, okay, like how much impact does the Hail Mary have? Like can somebody just go and like really fuck someone up? Like like how bad can it be? And so I think we're kind of like looking through like, okay, like what, like our supply, and also kind of like how many of these are in the market, and how many of them are going to be active in the game, to really understand like, okay, if I have a Hail Mary and if I have a sword, like the impact that it would have on someone. But also there's the defense items too, right? We have two of them, which are I think the gliders and I'm blanking on the other one. Yeah, let's go to item names. I'll tell you which one it is. Lower, I believe, or maybe I can't see. Yeah, no, it's the glider and the one right above it. Yeah, the tectonic plate. Yeah, so these are your armors, and so essentially once you activate these, you're protecting against an attack. So that's also pretty valuable. And so before going into a battle royale, you choose the items that you want to take into it. Then you kind of use them during the battle, and also you're trading at the same time with the amount that you deposit. And at the end of the day, the team that has the highest health, wins. And so there's going to be these like ongoing different battle royales. We're going to add like extra rewards to some of them. really boost that. And I'm super excited for these alpha allegiances and for our first kind of battle royale. It's gonna be a mess in the best way. It's gonna be a bloodshed, I think.
Right, this is just like our cup of tea. This is just epic. And just for the record, like the one I made a tweet on this a little bit earlier. The one thing that Halo taught me was that, you know, swords, and especially swords you can't pronounce the name of, because they've obviously whoever named it used ChatGPT to find me a really cool sword name. We know that swords will always trump guns, because there's never been a time that when I've got close enough to somebody on Halo with one of the energy swords, I have sliced and diced them like quicker than, I don't know, cheese bread or something. Like that is like some actual alpha, like real life gaming alpha right there. And then let's say somebody wins like the battle royale, yeah. Do they just get like what do they get? What do they get as being a winner apart from bragging rights on Twitter?
Okay, so there's three things that you're getting. So there's like the team gets an XP allocation, which goes into like the team leaderboard, right? And so you're still competing outside of battle royales. You're still competing with these alpha allegiances. 2, you're getting your own XP. So every individual that's part of that team gets like a set amount of XP, and it doesn't matter, you know, like kind of like how you did or everything. If you were in the winning team, everybody's getting 500 XP, no matter if there's, you know, 5 people on the team or 20. That was really important for us too, because we really didn't want to set like a minimum or a maximum in terms of like team size, but we also wanted to make sure that everybody, you know, who was part of a winning team also got like an individual reward. And then 3, you'll be getting, you know, bonus rewards, and I think this could be in the form of, you know, Arbitrum or you know, like giveaways, like NFTs, like maybe there's a sword up for grabs at the end of this battle royale, right? So there's like that bonus reward, there's like the team XP, and then there's the individual XP that you'll be getting if you win.
Yeah, if it's on P&L, we're gonna need loads of.
Oh mate, with
yeah, we're gonna need a lot of medi packs.
I don't know,
all the medi packs you can.
If you guys got a lot of haters, if like people are like, oh man, fucking blockmates guys, I'm gonna shoot them all. Like,
yeah. Just don't let the bankless guys get on there, because they might.
yeah. Please don't, because that is just going to be us versus them in every single battle royale. There's only one winner.
Oh man, I would love to see that. You have no idea. I would love to see that.
Set it up. Set it up and let's go.
So what was the mint like? Because I know that was that the first mint on Magic Eden on Ethereum?
No, so that on Ethereum, yes. It was not our first mint with Magic Eden. So this mint was the first ever, drop on their ETH market, on their new ETH marketplace. So, you know, we were working pretty closely with Magic Eden on this drop. It went super smooth. You know, the mystery box model is super interesting always, because you're always like, you're not sure what you're getting. You have a ton of people kind of like with question marks. You haven't seen the art yet. So there's like that super interesting component to it. It went really well. I think from like, we minted out like 5 minutes after our second whitelists. So you're about to make it up.
I want that sword.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I've got that up as well. That's the funny. I've got that and the Hail Marys up.
Yeah, man. It's too good. I don't even have one, man. I think I got like an ammo pack or some shit like that. I was like, damn. But yeah, so no, I think essentially the goal was, again, to get the supply out of these items and of these artifacts, so that people, you know, like all the different allegiances are ready to play when we're live, and like they're stacked up already. They got all their med packs, all their armors, everything that you need to kind of go into a battle royale. And I'll say, like, I think NFTs are going to be a big part of this. Like, I really do think that it's like, it's not just going to be like a pure trading comp where like that's all it is. Like the NFTs are going to exactly. So it's like, you don't want that, right? You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy in the back. Yeah, so it's I'm super excited for it. But yeah, I think we can touch into like the single player aspect of things too, which kind of go hand in hand in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Fill us in.
Yeah, so in terms of like the alpha allegiances, you have your leaderboard, which is separate from the battle royale leaderboard. It's kind of like the overarching leaderboard. Let's say if you guys have won 3 battle royales and you know you're at the top of the leaderboard, and then another team has won 2, etc. Right? But then every individual player in your allegiance can also go and complete other quests to kind of get XP for the team. Because all the XP that I win as an individual, except for the one that I won from a battle royale, will go into that larger leaderboard for the team. So there's also a super interesting thing happening here, because like we've talked to a lot of communities about this, especially like NFT communities, and sometimes they're like, look, like not all of us are traders. You know, they really, I have a lot of people who would love to use this product, but you know, they're not they're not traders, or they don't trade as actively as somebody who would join a battle royale. Like, what can they do? And so that's why there's this like component of like, okay, you can have as many people join your allegiance, choose the ones that, or you know, like have the ones that go into battle, and have the other ones that are kind of like collecting XP for the team as well at the same time. And these kind of these single player quests, you know, there's it could be anything, is like creating content, right? Like make a meme about this, or like, you know, social stuff, you know, like a daily GM streak, or even like easy trades, like, okay, like do a swap from ETH to AVAX on Hashflow, and governance stuff, you know. So it's like it's really kind of like there's going to be like a pretty large offering of single player quests that also tie into the larger kind of like allegiance objective, as an individual. So yeah, I mean that's also pretty interesting. We have like the single player. We have a story mode, which gets into like the whole storyverse, and that's the part that really Superconductor like really like wrote for us. And so in partnership with them, we really just wanted to create like a larger world, Renova, and like, you know, like get very, very detailed about these things and have them all kind of like tied to each other, not just like, you know, say things and like throw things around and characters here, characters there, and there's no storyline. Like here, we're really building like a storyline, and like a pretty interesting one too, that takes into account AI. So I think super time relevant. But yeah, so it's I'm excited for those parts of the Hashverse as well, because that's another interesting component. Yeah.
And what kind of characters are you actually going to be able to oh, sorry,
go on, Dan. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what kind of, because it's a game, and you know we've gone over the weapons, the med packs, and all that cool stuff for like the battle royales. But what kind of like characters are we going to be able to play? And like, what is the actual? I've read some of the story, but I'd love to hear what the actual story is, because it sounds like AI came in, pissed off a load of real people, and then the real people strike back.
yeah. You kind of have it down. That's essentially it, right? You have these two kind of camps, right? You have like, and we're still kind of defining like the missing pieces of these in terms of like where it's headed. And I think that's also the other interesting factor, is like as like a DAO, we can also advance the story forward, because we didn't write, you know, like 15 chapters of this. Like we can do it together, and like as things happen in the Hashverse, maybe the story develops that direction as well. But yeah, I mean, there's like the Guardians and the ex-Guardians, and there's these different characters called like Warden Droids, and there's like the Hashbots, etc. So essentially, I'll give you kind of like the big picture, but you said it better than I did. You have kind of like this AI called Solus, who at first was ruling, you know, this planet Renova, you know, peacefully. Everything was okay, until it wasn't, right? Like as I'm sure we've all kind of thought about. And then from there, you kind of have this conflict. And I think if you've seen the trailer, it's like it starts off at that conflict point where you have the Guardians versus the ex-Guardians. And so once, as a player, you'll have the choice to kind of be on one camp or the other. You'll be able to choose one set of characters or the other. And so you'll have different kind of optionality from the different sides of the Hashverse and like the story. So you're picking a storyline from the beginning, and you kind of follow that storyline, and you'll have people obviously in in that camp with you and and others in the other, and that the story will develop over time. Right now it's season 1, like there's a lot that's going to happen, and I think we'll take elements of what happens in the battle royales maybe, or in the story mode, and really develop it further in that sense. Yeah.
And what kind of like gaming inspiration does it come from? Or like, would you compare it to, so then the people watching could be like, oh, okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so it's kind of mixing this like new tech from like I think Halo is a pretty good kind of comparison. I think you mentioned that earlier.
Don't say that to him.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we love kind of that like that mix of like new tech, but also kind of like old world feel. And I think you can kind of see that from the items, right? It's like you've got kind of like that rustic feel to it, but it's also like it feels like a super high tech sword at the same time that's like got these like crazy colors going on. And that's like the overall, like that's the overall context for everything. It's like the mix of those old world versus new world, and versus like super high tech and stuff. So Dune is a pretty good example as well. I mean, I think Dune does a really good job of mixing the two as well, right? They have these like crazy aircrafts like flying around, but you're like in a setting where it's like old like Middle Eastern world, right? So it's like it's that combination that we're really trying to narrow down into, and I think those are some pretty good comparisons. Yeah.
So cool.
What who did you I think you touched upon it earlier, who's initially behind the story design of it? Is it, I think Dan was bringing something up, but
yeah, it's so Superconductor came in a bit ago, and essentially what they did is they kind of like went through this whole creative process with us. So it was a lot of hours of kind of like okay, so like what is this going to be called, like what's the story, like what are the characters, et cetera, et cetera. So Superconductor, they're the Russo brothers, and they're behind the Avengers, like Captain America, the Fast and the Furious, like all these like massive franchises, right? This is like a top Hollywood agency that's like at the core of Marvel and everything. Like it's crazy, right? Like you talk to this agency, and you're talking to the people that have developed these like iconic movies. So they obviously know what they're doing. So we just kind of like brought in that little kind of like what we wanted, and then kind of went back and forth with them on the creative aspect of things, and also on some of the art pieces. So the Creations Coffer, which was our first drop with Magic Eden, that was designed by one of their artists, which I think he designed like the Infinity Stone, yeah, like he designed that golden thing, and I was like, yo, like you can design it if you want, and it'll look sick. I trust you, bro. Like, so yeah, no, I think it's been super cool, kind of mixing also, like what we're doing as a DAO and DeFi and crypto with something that's like so tangible as Hollywood, right? And I think that's been a super interesting process as well. Like I don't think it's been done before. Like you would never bring in the guys from Avengers and Captain America to build a DAO. It's like so it's been super cool on that side of things. Yeah.
Shit, that is mental.
Yeah,
that blows my mind. Usually it's like something that an NFT project would try and like pay these guys like a shit ton of money and like have this one-sided announcement that they're potentially going to work about it, but you guys have like gone and done it from the get-go before even actually releasing the product. So
yeah,
kudos. It's hilarious that you want to solve DAO governance, and then you've just went and kind of blown every GameFi project out of the water.
Hey,
it's actually insane, because I was reading your press releases earlier, and one of the fellows that's done some of your art, Luca. So he worked on like Disney, Marvel, HBO. When you look at the actual stuff he's done, so he's done stuff for Shazam. We all know, obviously, like the movie Shazam. Done Dungeons and Dragons for the nerds out there. That's like most of our childhoods. Ashes of Creations, Mature Drill. Like this guy is like an artistic genius. It's insane.
No, it's crazy. Like I think he did like, yeah, no, it's just he's everywhere. Like, and you don't even know, but he's designed all these crazy things. Like I think there's like I forget the exact name of the movie, like the Life of Water or something like that. Like there's like a whole, there's like that character which is like not human, right? And he designed that whole thing, and then you're like, and then you see it in the movie, and you're like, what the fuck? Like this thing is crazy. So yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah.
Dude, he's done like, I know we're going a little bit off tangent, but he did Baby Groot from Galaxy Guardians
Oh,
Volume 2.
no,
He did something.
Did he?
Yeah,
Is that
he
that
did.
guy?
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah, he did some concept art for Godzilla, King of the Monsters. There's something from Annabelle, one of the monsters.
Yeah,
This guy is like,
yeah, it's
wow,
crazy. It's
and
crazy.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. And then he did the creation scoffer, and so
And
yeah,
then the
no,
creation scoffer.
yeah, exactly. Which is sick, by the way. I stare at that thing sometimes because there's like little smoke coming out of it and everything. It's really really well done. It's like it's detailed. I think like the logo is kind of like engraved in it. You wouldn't even know it's there. There's a ton of little things going on in that art piece. So yeah, I mean, I think overall it's just about like doing things well, and really focusing on details, building a real story. You know, having amazing art, and just like having that be the brand, and having that be the DAO. So yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of fascinating to see how, because obviously we don't, like, if you're a marketer or you're leading growth or something like that, you don't have those very tangible and demographic pieces of data that you can kind of then kind of refine and then go and approach your target audience that you know are kind of invested and stuff like that. So it's a really difficult one to try and navigate because the industry is so young.
Yeah.
And I think people are trying to crack the code of how you actually get customer and user attention and traffic and acquisition and retention and stuff like that. So, but stuff like this, like, fair enough, I've seen a few projects doing kind of POAPs and Galaxy and Guild and stuff like this, but this is like that on steroids, or
Yeah,
like
no,
10,
yeah.
10 lots of steroids.
That's the goal, and I think you touch a really you touch a really interesting point, right? Because it's, as a marketer, or somebody that likes to make data driven decisions, like we don't have a lot of data. Like we're testing something, and obviously you have data points from other projects and other products that are doing well or not so well, and you kind of identify your path from there. And I think we're on a pretty interesting path, but still, right? It's like not like you're launching toothpaste and you kind of know everything that you need, right? It's like it's a lot more complicated than that. And I think this is something that we say is like, I think marketing for crypto and for Web3 is like the hardest thing, like the hardest form of marketing. In a lot of ways, like this is part of it too, like actually like identifying product market fits, like creating a demand for things like that is real demand, and also solving a real problem is a harder thing than you think. The goal with this too is like you said, it's actually ideally it's an onboarding tool, right? Like it should be at like one of the most accessible products in DeFi, which then can onboard people into the actual Hashflow product or any DeFi product. It's like it really should be used as a marketing tool, as an onboarding tool, because everybody, like people know games, people know stories, like people resonate with these things, like the creative like side of our brains, like it's very real, and a lot of the times that's like easier to tap into than give me a swap, like it's just like I think we're tapping into something different. We're tapping into something creative, and I think it resonates a lot more than just like a pure decentralized exchange. So the goal here is definitely obviously to use this as an onboarding tool to build a community, to build a user base, and to have people enjoy and then from there, you know, like who knows, like maybe this expands like the ecosystem, even if it's just a little bit. But I think as an industry, we do need to kind of start segmenting out and starting to be, you know, more expansive, and then building products that feel more expansive as well.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Do you think aligned protocols and kind of partner protocols will have any kind of, they'll want to be kind of jumping on it and trying to see if they can leverage off the back of it? Is it going to be solely for Hashflow? Is there any kind of thoughts around that?
So I think it's too early to say, right? It's kind of, I don't think there's anything against us. Our kind of mentality is like, really, this is a product for everyone. So it wouldn't be like, oh, like you're from over there, like, you know, don't come here. That's not the mentality at all, and it's never going to be. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity to partner with any kind of project, any kind of protocol in the ecosystem, and I think that's something that we want to do. And I think as you've seen now, like with the alpha allegiances, like that's step one of that. But we want this to be a tool for everybody to kind of, you know, engage their community and provide more utility for their NFT project, right? It's like, if I'm an NFT project founder and I have this community of 1,000 or 5,000 people, I hope that they see this as like, oh shit, like my community would love this. I want them to be a part of this. They can get rewards from this. They can be part of something cool. You know, they can win things like, yeah, I really think it's meant to be for everybody. And it's meant to be, you know, like really just like an opportunity for any project to kind of come in and enjoy. Yeah.
Sick. Dan, anything final before we wrap it up? I can't wait to give it a go. And I'm also going to blame you if we don't get any newsletters released, like following the release of this. And Dan's wiping the leaderboard clean, and he's like, he's number one by like thousands of XP.
I've actually just started a video gaming newsletter now. It's going to be all about gameplay and gamification. What's going on? And the only question I've got is when do we get to like find out more about the characters and then mint the character?
Yeah, so the characters are actually you'll get those once you come into the Hashverse. So this is not going to be like something that drops prior to it. So I mean, in terms of the timeline, we're looking at having the beta actually pretty soon. And you know, part of that beta will be for the alpha allegiances. So yeah, you guys will have early access. Exactly. So I know you're ready to go. So it's perfect. So that beta is coming pretty soon, and then, you know, the full launch will follow that. And the characters, every alpha allegiance will have kind of like their custom character, which will be like a mix of, you know, kind of like the Hashverse character and like maybe like their PFP collection or their logo or whatever. So start thinking about what you want, like your personalized Hashverse characters, and we're gonna start building those with our artists and everything like that. So yeah, that's a conversation that we'll have offline, but I'm super excited to make the blocmates Hashverse character. That's gotta be a good one. Yeah.
Awesome. Dan's pretending that he's training for a duathlon while he's actually running 10 miles every day to get ready for the Hashverse.
Exactly. I put on my Spartan kit and like weighted vest and everything, train like a Spartan, be like a Spartan. I went hunting at the weekend as well.
Yeah, you're doing Spartan races. You're doing Spartan races instead. We're all doing Spartan races on the weekend here, just preparing as well, warming up.
Good man, good. Be
well,
ready.
What we should do as soon as it's live and we can bring up the UI and the Hashverse, and we've kind of destroyed a few LARPs on there, we'll do it again, and then obviously we'll let everyone in on it and let everyone see what's happening. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. It's when you kind of first explained this to me off air, I was like, you're doing what now? But like, I can completely see the vision of it, and I think it's as I say, it's an industry first, which we're always happy to cover, and we love all this kind of shit. So but yeah, thanks for coming on. If you need anything from us, just shout. Always happy to support people who are doing cool shit. So yeah, Dan, anything else before I wrap it up?
Oh, all good. Just keep training for your Spartan, son.
Let's do it. Let's do it. No, I super appreciate it, guys. This was super fun. Yeah, I'm excited to see you guys in the Hashverse.
Awesome. Just before you go, where if people are interested, where's the best place if they should be kind of looking? Should they jump in Discord? Where do you want people to be kind of looking?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think first of all, if you're interested about Hashflow, at Hashflow on Twitter, Hashverse is at Hashverse on Twitter. So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, like jump in our Discord. The links are on the Twitters. You can also reach out to me directly on Twitter for any questions. My Twitter is Ayotibo, so at AYOTIBO. So yeah, I think we're all here. We have a really good team, and we're kind of like always on the ground and answering anything. So I'm super happy to chat with anyone.
All right, we'll leave all that in the description as well. But yeah, thanks again, and everyone listening, go and have a look. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised what you might find. And yeah, Tibo will do it again. But yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.